Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Poor Man Mods. If you remember, when I got this thing tuned, I said that the tuner said there was a misfire around 6,000 RPMs, and he wanted me to get away with the E-manage. I'm trying to do something else before I spend all the money on the standalone. We're going to be upgrading the ignition to LS2 ignition coils. I have Ron from Yoda Connectors here, and we're going to be doing away with this factory ignition. We're going to try to do it as minimally invasive as possible. I won't be doing much of the wiring. He's the wiring guru. That's why it's from Yoda Connectors. If you guys need any kind of connectors or wiring help for your Yodas, hit him up. I'll have a link down below. Stay tuned, and hopefully we can get this thing running pretty good with some LS1 coils, or LS2 coils. Yeah. And I'm going to start this off by removing the factory coils and spark plugs, because I want to change the spark plugs at this time. Which only makes sense. Yeah, stuck on the easiest part. Like, is that abnormally white?
It looks a little extra white than I would normally expect.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, Ron, 1 being the best and 10 being the worst, how bad is the wiring of this car?
11. Yeah.
Is this your favorite car to work on?
Absolutely.
Ron, how much would you charge Mike for a complete redo of all wiring in this car?
Like full body?
Full body, full engine.
More than you can afford, pal.
How much would you realistically charge Mike for a full body, full engine harness rewire?
Harness. Now we're talking all new?
Yeah.
Or rebuilt?
New. Just starting
New
from scratch.
harness around 1,000 just for the engine harness. Probably closer to 2,500 for the entire car, maybe 3.
$3 grand is what you need for the budget. For
The
next year.
car's not even worth it.
The motor's worth that. That's what you need a budget for Ron to come and do your car, so you don't.
No, I just need each individual item to fail, and I just fix it as I go.
So then you pay Ron $6,000 over time.
Well, that's if I have to wire everything by hand. If you buy a prefab kit, that eliminates a lot of that. Like a body harness for a hot rod.
No, you just need to pay Ron $2,000 to do the job.
If I drop $3,000 on this car,
It better be gold plated.
yeah, I'm making a V12 1JZ. So, got some new NGK V-Power plugs, and Ron discovered that, to surprise, I wired something incorrectly when I did the swap. What did I mess up?
The
Everything.
ignition noise filter.
Everything.
Everything.
That too.
So the part that I got out of an El Camino, I wired into my Supra incorrectly. What do you know?
It's still rad.
And it still ran. What
Yeah.
do you know? So, new plugs are gonna go in now. That just gives me an excuse to clean it.
There you go.
So I guess it's pretty common to do this in 2Js and VVTi 1Js, but not for the GTE. So Ron got it all wired up and working, but now it's, I guess, my job to get the coils to fit in the head, because the coils don't fit. Apparently some people modify the head to make them fit, but I'm not going to do that. I came up with a poor man's solution, which as soon as we get this all cleaned up and buttoned up, I will go into detail on that. But yeah, you did an awesome job, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is my head cut off or anything?
No, I lifted it up so it wasn't.
Okay, so Ron did the wiring for the LS1 coils, and now it's up to me to make them fit. Now, there's pretty much kind of like 2 options you can do here. You can modify the head to make the coils fit in the head. Huh?
How would you modify the
with a Dremel or some kind of deburring device and make the valley larger to make the coils fit, so the boots off the 1J, 2J coils can fit down in there on the spark plug, which I'm not going to do because that's a lot of work, and my luck, I would ruin the head. So I'm taking zero risk here, and I'm making my own spark plug wires to fit. Now what I'm going to do, these are spark plug wires for like a 2003, 2004 Silverado with a 4.8 liter engine. They're designed to work with those coils. I'm pretty much going to lose all of this wire, and I'm going to move this connection here up to here. So all we're going to have is pretty much this. It's going to connect to the coil and the spark plug, and it should work just fine. So I'm going to start off by making a cut right about here-ish. Now we need to remove the connector inside this boot. And you can either buy new connectors or reuse this one. We're obviously going to reuse it. Okay, so to remove this, it's kind of annoying, kind of time consuming, but I'm just going to use a flathead screwdriver to pry apart this connector that was crimped. It's not the easiest thing, you might stab yourself. Pried that real good, now the wire should pull right out. And this is actually how it connects. The wire inside just gets folded down and crimped inside. My goal here is to be able to get this crimp connector pretty much right inside here. So this is going to be a very short wire. So we're going to pull this out. So if I want this connector to be right here inside this boot, we need some wire to be able to fold back to be crimped inside here. So I'm probably going to cut right about here. And now we're just going to pull this out. Just got to twist it, break it free, and it will pull out. To get the wire out of the sheathing, you don't want to use a wire strip or anything because you're probably not going to be able to do it. Use a razor blade and gently cut around the sheathing. Once you get a good cut on the black one, twist it and it'll pull off. Now you're going to do the same thing to the blue layer. And it should break. And now your wire is exposed. You're going to fold it over, like so. Place it inside of the connector, which we're going to spread a little bit more to make it easier. Slide it into the connector. And now it's ready to be crimped. Now this isn't the best tool to crimp it because it's not ratcheting and you can't apply that much force, but it will get the job done. We're going to be using the biggest hole right here with kind of the M shape on it. So we're going to put the crimp, we're going to put the connector right in here on the M, squeeze it as hard as we can.
That's pretty hard, though, Fred.
A ratcheting device would be much easier and more effective, but this will get the job done. It's on there nice and tight. Spray some lubricant in here. Make a mess. Oh yeah, that's so much better. Beautiful. Absolutely perfect. Check it out. Got it in there, got it in there. Nothing hanging on the edges. This is perfect. Now you just have to do this for the rest of the coils. So I got 6 of them made. I'm gonna attach them to the coils and put them on and see if I can turn the engine on before I secure everything else, just so I don't button everything up and find out that I fucked up. Okay, so I got all my spark plug wires made, all the coils are connected, and I went to start it up and the car would not start. Now I made a video talking about this on Pour My Mods, but I'll talk about it again in this video. So the car wouldn't run, and I had Ron from Yoda Connectors, who did the wiring for me, come up and we did some troubleshooting. And come to find out, pretty much you can't easily do the LS1 coils on this engine if you have the factory ECU. Because here's where it gets complicated. The ECU sends a low voltage signal to the igniter for each coil. So it sends 6 different low voltage signals. Then the igniter sends out 6 different high voltage signals, 1 to each coil. When that particular coil fires, there's a drop in voltage inside the igniter. The igniter realizes that and sends a success signal back to the ECU, letting it know that it fired, and it can go ahead and fire the next coil. So, when you do the LS1 coils, the igniter does not play a role in the coils because the igniter is pretty much inside each coil. So the ECU for the GM coils sends a low voltage signal directly to the coils, and then the coils are hooked up directly to power and ground constantly, and the low voltage signal trips the coil and tells it to fire. But because it's not connected to the Toyota igniter, there is no success signal going back to the ECU to tell it, we just fired that coil, go ahead and fire the next one. So pretty much it just fires one coil and that's it, and then it's done. So Ron was pretty convinced that I had to go with a standalone ECU, and I really didn't want to do that. And that's why I did these coils in the first place, because where I got this cartoon down at JE Import Performance, they said the eManage was having some issues and they recommended I go full standalone. And I wanted to exhaust all my options before I did that. So I did the LS1 coils. And I came up with the idea, since the GTE 1JZ fires each coil individually, why not bundle all the wires together from the factory coil harness and have a dummy coil? So what we have now is a 7th coil connected, and the igniter is firing that one constantly, and it's successfully firing because we have it grounded right now, and that's letting the other GM coils fire. So I have 7 ignition coils right now to run this engine. Now, I haven't done any further investigation, but I'm thinking we might not need an actual ignition coil hooked up. I'm thinking I'm going to try to later hook up a light bulb, like an incandescent light bulb, and that'll eat up some of the signal and cause a voltage drop. I'm going to try that so we don't have a 7th coil. But our theory for what we're going to do right now is have this 7th coil hang behind the engine here, and we're going to just connect a spark plug wire to it and ground it on the head, which that's what it would do anyway. It would send energy through the spark plug, and the spark just grounds to the spark plug, which grounds to the head. So it's pretty much the same thing. I think I'm going to try the light bulb though before I do that. So the very next thing I'm going to do is install the brackets for all these coils and get them nice and tidied up. And then I'm going to experiment with the light bulb and see if I can do a light bulb or if I need an actual coil. So yeah. Okay, so to secure these brackets, I'm actually using brackets made by CX Racing. I think I got these for 70 bucks off eBay. They come with bolts and these sleeves, but because the coils don't fit all the way down unless you shave the head, the bolts that come with it are too short, and I don't see a need for these, at least not yet. So I went to my local hardware store and got bolts that I think might be long enough, and I'm going to try to install this right now with just the sleeves, or with just the bolts and brackets. And I'll try to have a link in the description to the coils and the brackets and everything. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to run a valley cover once I'm finished with this. I could use longer ones. I should probably get longer ones or really crank these down to where these brackets bend. But I think it's obvious that I won't be able to run a valley cover. Beautiful. Ron got everything wired up, and I know I said earlier this wasn't going to be a step-by-step, but I'm going to do my best to talk to you and show you with graphics of what Ron did to wire up these coils. So, pretty much from the ECU, there are 6 low voltage wires that run to the igniter, and the igniter sends 6 high voltage wires to the coils. The GM coils that we're working with have pretty much the igniter already on them. So what they need is a low voltage signal, and they also need a constant power and ground. So they'll be fully charged at all times, but it's the signal wire that triggers them. So what Ron did, he just tapped into the 6 low voltage wires that run to the igniter and spliced into them and ran the low voltage wires to the coils, and then hooked the coils up to constant power and ground at the same area. So pretty much it's bypassing the igniter. It's just getting the signal from the ECU to fire them. It's a little simpler, and theoretically could eliminate the igniter if you have a standalone ECU. It looks a lot more complicated than it really is, but all you have to do is splice into those 6 low voltage wires, and I'll try to have a pinout right here for you to know which ones to tap into. And then you just need to hook up all 6 coils to constant power and ground, and that's really it. And Ron made it look really good and really easy, and now the car runs. But I'm not going to call this install finished yet. I'm going to do more research on this 7th coil. Not at the moment, but I'm going to try to see if I can get a light bulb to work in place of that coil. I think a light bulb would be a lot safer. So yeah, before I tidy everything up, I'm going to work with that. But that's really all I have left to do, because the car will run and drive right now. It's just I have a coil chilling there. So let's cut to experimenting, shall we? Excuse me. Oh, you gonna put my nipple with that?
You can't resist me.
Guess a resistor. So, I did my research very unscientifically, and I found out you can either use a light bulb or a resistor to make this work instead of a 7th coil. I believe the resistor you'll need between 1 and 10 ohms at around 5 watts. Now, how did I come to this conclusion? Well, I bought a bunch of resistors, and I was able to get the car to run on 20 ohms of 1/4 watt resistors, but they burned up in about 10 seconds. So the 20 ohms was able to make it run, and the coil only has about 1.5 ohms of resistance. And when I went above 20 ohms, the car would no longer start. So you need between 1 and 10 ohms, or you need between 1 and 20 ohms for it to work, but you need the right wattage, and those 1/4 watt resistors would burn up. And this light bulb is a 5 watt light bulb. So what you'll need is about 5 watts and between 1 and 20 ohms. I don't have that resistor right now. I might get it later down the road, but for now, Tony and I went for a drive, and I have a 7443 light bulb running this car. And all I had to do was plug it right in. I'll bring the camera over here and show you what I did. It's amazing. Tony, what do you think about this?
Disaster.
So here is the 7443 light bulb that I plugged into the coil connector. All I did was fold down the metal prongs on this light bulb, and you can stick it right in to the socket. Now this works. Obviously it's not finished. I would like to mount this somewhere safe, but you can choose to do that however you want. But for right now, this works. We just drove around the neighborhood with this, and it worked awesome. So you can either do a light bulb like this, or a resistor, or a 7th coil. It's really up to you. But let me show you what it looks like when you turn it on with this. Hey, we drove it around town and banged it off rev limiter, and it didn't explode.
No, it was ridiculous.
You guys are nuts.
I'm nuts. I'm nuts. This ain't my car is not driven by fucking
A light bulb?
You didn't
Edison.
step in and tell him no.
No.
So, pretty ridiculous, right? The car now runs on a light bulb, or a resistor, or a 7th coil, but for right now I'm going to leave it as a light bulb. So yeah, that's how you do LS2 or LQ9 or whatever coils on a 1JZ. You'll need to follow the wiring diagram that I made if you have the factory ECU like I do. And you'll need brackets, or you'll need to make your own brackets. I got these from CX Racing, and you'll need to make your own wires or modify the cylinder head. And yeah, it's not too bad once you know everything that you need to do. It's just trying to figure out how to get it done. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. I know Tony now loves this car more than anything else ever.
Need a light bulb.
It's like riding a roller coaster without the strap. And yeah, see ya.